Well everyone, the iPhone 7 is an iPhone that came out so many years ago, so let's go and see how this particular iPhone holds up in the later part of 2023. Now, I wouldn't recommend anyone to buy this phone anymore. I don't think it's worth buying at all, and you are much better off purchasing a device that has been out for, maybe a few years, but is still supported with software. iPhones like the iPhone XR, iPhone 11, iPhones above that, those are the iPhones I'd recommend buying, now. I wouldn't recommend buying the iPhone 7 in my opinion. Now, starting off with the outside of the iPhone 7, this particular iPhone has that 4.7-inch IPS panel on the front, and it's a pretty good panel. I've talked about this panel so many times, and I definitely do think it's a good device panel that, Apple has made. It's not perfect, but it was good when it first came out, and Apple still kind of uses it on the SE3, so I think that kind of deserves some credit from that specific perspective. Now, some other big things. This is still, like I said before, bezels, Touch ID on the front, lightning port at the bottom, standard camera on the back, aluminum build. It doesn't feel like a cheap phone though. I've said this for a long time now. You're not going to pick up something like an iPhone 7 and feel like you have a cheap phone. You're still going to feel like you have a pretty premium, expensive phone at that, which I think is a very, very cool thing. So personally for me, when I'm buying an iPhone like an iPhone 7, you're definitely going to feel like you have a pretty decently, not expensive phone, but you're going to feel like you have a good priced phone that's not super expensive, but not super cheap either. But, for like $60, $50 you're going to buy this thing for, there's still some capability here behind this device on the exterior. Camera-wise, you're still getting a 4K sensor on the back, 720p on the front. Definitely not an amazing sensor anymore, but it used to be a decent sensor, and I think once again, that perspective kind of gets a thumbs up for me in that, standard, way as well. Nothing crazy, but, I guess it is what it is. We all kind of know what's going on here. Now, stepping outside of that, a big thing here is software longevity. The iPhone 7 is already outdated with software, so you're already not getting that many features with this. You're already on an outdated version of software, so that's kind of like another big thing. So that kind of makes little to no sense of purchasing this iPhone anymore because it's outdated. If you're using this thing as like an iPod or as like a complete side device, then maybe there could be some room for someone to look at this iPhone and be like, oh, it's still completely worth buying or whatever the case is. But probably for the average person out there, I don't see why anybody would want to pick up an iPhone like this, considering, like I said before, it's already outdated. It just doesn't make any sense at all to purchase an iPhone like this, in my opinion. So, especially from the software standpoint, that kind of covers it up there. Now, performance-wise, it does have that Apple A10 Fusion chip inside, which actually wasn't that bad. It's actually not that bad of a performing chipset inside, which again is actually pretty insane. You would look at a device like this and be like, oh, it still has this, it still has that. It still has quite a bit of a, support behind it. And it has not that much support behind it anymore, but it actually is quite, performance. It's decent in performance once you're in the applications. Loading the apps and, those things take a long amount of time. But once you're in the game or once you're in the application, it's kind of like a decent supported, it's kind of like a decent performing phone from how old this phone is and for how cheap this phone is. Beyond that, in every other strategy, Joe, in every other way you would think about it, it is a very, very slow phone, and I would not recommend anybody buying it either, in any way you could probably think. So what I'm trying to say is the iPhone 7, although when it first came out, it was probably a good phone, it is not worth buying anymore, and I would not recommend anyone purchasing this device either. 2 years ago, maybe you could make the case that this phone still supported. It's still getting some iOS 15 updates, but I would not recommend anyone purchasing this phone anymore. It makes zero sense. You're much better off purchasing an iPhone that is still supported right now. So that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.